So, Lauren, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about what you do? It sounds quite interesting and exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So I am a women's coach. I do a lot of work with women on dating as one of the things, but a lot on emotional intelligence, on nervous system regulation and nervous system and subconscious reprogramming. So like identifying the patterns that are keeping you stuck from the things that you want in your life and doing that rewiring kind of work, and a lot around, like I said, emotional intelligence, regulation, and then really just being the version of you out in the world that you want to be.
To get into that field, it sounds very interesting. That's why I was so excited about this interview.
Yeah, so I got into it. I've always been interested in personal growth and personal development. And so I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years working for myself. So that personal growth piece has always been something that I have really been drawn to just for my own goals and growth and development. And then got into this more. So it's been a thing for a while for me, but then got into it more. I would say like in 2020, as we know, that was a huge, like transformational, pivotal, challenging year for everybody in so many ways, just globally. But then also, I know there was a lot of personal growth and transformation available to people during that time. And I had been on my personal growth journey for a while then, but also decided in 2020 to end my marriage at the time. And so that kicked me into a whole new level of growth and healing and reprogramming. And then, a lot of self-reflection too. And since then, looking at, okay, if these are my goals, or if this is happening, like, why does this keep happening this way? Or why does this keep getting in my way? Or why does this, right? So a lot of self-reflection to be like, okay, I have more control over what's going on in my life than I may have realized in the past, right? Things aren't just happening, right? And I have control over changing the things internally so that my external reality shifts accordingly. So just got really fascinated with the psychology behind it all, and how you can really like continuously evolve. And so it came a lot from the desire to like evolve and transform in my own life and make my life as beautiful as I want it to be.
Now, congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
on that. That's
Thank you.
amazing. And I feel like every woman goes through this, and that's something we all need. We all need someone like you to make not guide us per se, but give us the right tools so we can go through this. And we're seeing this a lot in the news now. A perfect
Yeah.
example, like we discussed, the whole thing with Ashley Tisdale, Hillary Duff with that toxic mommy group. What's your thoughts on something like that?
Yeah, so this was going around quite a bit, and I think it struck a nerve a lot with a lot of people because I think that every woman at some point in her life has experienced like toxic female friendship dynamics in some way. Now, this it's not I wasn't part of that friend group. I don't know these people, so I can't exactly comment on what happened, right? And it's like, I they can call so and so toxic. They can call them toxic right back. So you don't know exactly what's going on. But like what it does say a lot, and why I think a lot of people resonated, is because, it's about adult female friendships. It's about identity shifts in adulthood and in motherhood. And I'm not a mother yet, but like that's such a vulnerable transitional time in someone's life, and like a whole new beautiful chapter that can also be really challenging and a whole different identity, right? And so having community and other women who can like again be that community but who can relate to you and support you is really important. But I think just like with dating, right? You should be very, very intentional and discerning with who you choose to surround yourself with as friends as well, right? And realizing, oh, this friend group or this person or whatever, like, we don't necessarily have the same values, or I don't like how I'm being treated, or this isn't really the right fit for me. And so knowing when, okay, it's time to remove yourself or end certain friendships. And I think something too with these things is that friendships aren't necessarily meant to last forever, right? Sometimes it's during a season in your life or a specific chapter. Sometimes you might find a new friend and then pretty quickly realize, ooh, this isn't, we're not aligned enough here, But I think with this situation, something, because, I think Ashley Tisdale came out with a big, long essay, like calling the friend group toxic. And then I think Hillary Duff's husband came out with his kind of counter argument that maybe paints the picture that Ashley was the toxic one. Again, I'm not involved. We don't really know what happened in the situation, you know? But in these kinds of things, right? If you're finding yourself in this situation, I think it's even if the other people are toxic, it's also really important to take a look at yourself. Like, how am I showing up in this situation? You can ask yourself, even like, am I actually the problem? Right? Have some like self reflection and awareness around it. But
Absolutely,
then
yeah.
also, yeah, but then also, like, you know, like, am I showing up as the friend that I want to be and the friend that I want to have? And if that's a yes, then okay, I check that box off. Like, I'm showing up how in a way that's aligned for me and how I would want people to show up for me. Like, but then also thinking, where am I contributing to this toxic dynamic, right? Am I behaving in ways that aren't awesome, or am I displaying a lack of boundaries that are allowing me to be treated poorly, right? So how am I contributing to what's going on? Because it's never happening completely in a vacuum. And then also looking at whether it's toxic or not, like, okay, what are the opportunities for growth here for me, right? Because they could be, oh, I'm feeling bad about this friend group because I'm wanting more than I'm giving, right? Maybe I get to lean in a little bit more to be the kind of friend that I want to have. Or it could be, oh yeah, this actually isn't the group for me and they are toxic. And then it goes, okay, so then where do you get to grow so that that doesn't happen again? And that growth might be, again, more discernment, better boundaries, like those sorts of things.
How do you know when to walk away from a toxic situation? I mean, I know it's different from everybody. I mean, I've been through it. I'm sure you've been through it. Everyone's been through it at some point in their life. So how do you know when the moment is to walk away?
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, I think it's important too to like know when, okay, is something toxic or is it just uncomfortable and like stretching me in ways that are out of my comfort zone, you know? And so like toxic is going to look like chronic exclusion, gossip, power plays, silent treatment, like punishment, that sort of thing. Like if you always feel anxious or small or emotionally unsafe after, before, or during interactions. Like those are signs that something is likely toxic. Uncomfortable, but normal is like, okay, you might not click with everyone in the group. That's fine. Like you're not expected to, right? You just like you're not going to be friends with you want to be friends with every single person out there. Not everyone's going to want to be friends with you. It's all right? Groups are also going to naturally shift and shrink. And so there's like a normal level of discomfort sometimes that happens. And so knowing that, like, so when you gather enough data, if you will, right? Or like an intuitive feeling like, oh, this isn't right for me. I feel drained. I feel anxious. Like I second guess myself all the time. I feel like I have to like perform or prove that I belong. There's gossip or like our values aren't aligned enough, and that you feel like, oh, they just put up with me instead of like actually wanting me to be there. Like when there's enough of those things kind of checking off, then that's a sign I think that it's time to like part ways, because again, like our time and energy is so precious, and you want to be doing things that I believe supports you in whatever your vision is for your life and the person that you want to be taking steps in that direction, right? Now, that doesn't mean that every step is going to feel comfortable and good. There are plenty, I think there's this myth sometimes that it's like, if it disturbs my peace and it doesn't feel good, I'm out of here. No, like there's plenty of things that may not feel good immediately or may stretch you or be uncomfortable that you should lean into, right? But when you have enough of those signs, then it's like, oh, as much as you might want to be a part of this group in theory and have that community, if it's not right and there's too many of those kind of unhealthy dynamics being present and it just doesn't sit well with your nervous system, then it's time. And trusting that, just like with a relationship, right? I say a lot like, don't pick somebody out of scarcity of just like not wanting to be alone. Similarly with friendships, right? Don't feel like you have to stay in a friendship or in a friend group just because you're afraid of being alone or on your own for a little while. Like be discerning and be strict with who gets to be in your life.
I like that. I like that. And if you notice something getting toxic or uncomfortable and you don't want it to get to that point, are there steps you could take to, you kind of touched on this before, steps you could take to make it better and turn it around? I know you said looking at how you act, but is there anything else you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're starting to notice some things, having conversations, right? And I think often that these sorts of dynamics form because less consciously and more just subconsciously, right? It's I think it's a lot less likely that something is people are maliciously doing things to like specifically target you. Yes, that does happen, but most of the time that's probably not what's going on. It's usually going to be subconscious things and kind of patterns and behaviors, right? And so if you feel like something is off, have the conversation, like have direct, honest, transparent, like open-hearted conversations. If these are people you value and want to have in your life, like talk to them. And because like intimacy and connection, right? Even in a platonic sense, like that requires uncomfortable conversations. It requires uncomfortable conversations. And so if you can't do that, you're going to always have surface level relationships, and it's going to be really easy to assume stuff is happening that might not be, right? Because it's so easy for us as humans to be like, oh, well, I saw this happen, I saw this, and they said this, and it kind of sounded weird, and to create then a whole story of what that means, which may or may not be the truth, right? So talking about it and saying like, hey, I noticed like, or I've not been feeling very included, like in the group, like, am I missing something or am I just kind of reading into things, right? And having that honest conversation with somebody that you trust. And then if it's like, oh, I was just like kind of reading into things, okay, great. Then you can say what your request is like, oh, well, like I love spending time with you, so I would love to be included more. Those sorts of things. And some people like that, even just that, I know is so uncomfortable for so many people. But like I had some conversations with some of my best friends in the last couple weeks because I had been in a season of not filling up my own cup enough. And so I was feeling very stretched and like I was kind of running on fumes for a little while and had a couple friends, lovingly say like, "Hey, I don't feel like you're showing up as much in our friendship as I am." Like, "Hey, I've noticed you're a bit like disconnected and stuff like that," which like stings to hear because I don't want to let my friends down, right? But also I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I've been going through a challenging season. Let's have like, okay, great. Then I get to lean in. One, here's how I've been doing so that you can understand a little bit more context, not make excuses, but like here's how I've been doing, right? It's been a little challenging. And then saying like, okay, and I get to show up a little bit more because our relationship is really important to me, right? And having those conversations of like, I hear you. Yes, that lands and that's accurate. And like, this is important to me, so I will make adjustments. And if you can also give me some grace, right? And so just having those honest conversations, because so many people, whether it's in friendships or relationships, are so scared of any form of conflict, right?
So
Any
true.
form of conflict or any form of disagreement. And it's like, yeah, but handling those things in a healthy way brings you closer and makes the relationship stronger.
Yeah. And now I want to take it in the opposite
Yeah.
direction, where we've all seen the movie Mean Girls. You know how like the
Yeah.
plastics were they were going there. How do you deal with a situation like that, where like it's almost like a mob mentality, for lack of a better term, where like one female might be ganged up, maybe left out of a situation on purpose because let's say Regina says that, oh, we don't like her today, so we're going to ignore her, but and all the girls go along with it, making the other girl feel like a bad
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yes, because that is a reality, and that those sorts of things do happen. So that I mean, my like simple answer is, well, you choose not to be friends with those people, right? Like,
True. Yeah.
but if there are people in the group in that kind of dynamic that you're like, oh, but I'm really good friends with like the three of them, but then the ringleader, I can tolerate her, but then sometimes she's kind of awful, and the other people go along with it, then maybe it's that situation where you're like, okay, then I'm not going to spend as much time in the group setting, but I would love to spend time with the other people one on one or maybe in a group there, right? Like, and I think so many of these things like end up being like so high schooly and so juvenile, right? It's like, oh, well, now they're hanging out without the mean girl, right? Like, ugh, right? But I think, with that is, yeah, you choose not to be around the person who's acting that way and instead choose to be around the people who are treating you with respect and stuff like that. And maybe having a conversation again directly like, hey, like when so and so does this sort of thing, like it really like hurts my feelings and it makes me like I would love it if you stood up for me a little bit more or if or like we could not, tolerate that kind of behavior. Like what do you think? Right? Like in a problem solving kind of way, of course. But then I think with those sorts of things, because if you're like, no, I really want to like, I'll just suck it up and deal with it. It's as much as possible, like having firm boundaries and also having an attitude of detachment, right? So not tolerating that kind of behavior. If comments are made or actions or whatever, you remove yourself from the situation. Because when people do those sorts of things, they're trying to get a reaction most of the time. They're trying to feel more powerful or more important or whatever it is, right? So removing yourself from the situation, having those firm boundaries, right? And and then also like the detachment piece is like realizing that so much of what people do is about them and their crap, like for better or worse, right? So when someone's behaving that way, we don't empathize to the point of excusing the behavior because that's unhealthy, right? Then that's toxic empathy. That's at the expense of yourself. So you don't empathize so far, but you're going, you know what? You're behaving that way, which is bad behavior because of your crap, and realizing it has really not much to do with you in those kinds of situations. And so for that, I think that can help people to personalize it a lot less, right? Where you're not then seeing that kind of treatment or behavior and making it mean, oh, well, I'm a bad person or I'm worthless or whatever. Just being like, that means that that reflects their character, not mine. And so like if they're going to be on their BS, like I'm not letting it affect me because that's their crap and that shows more about them than it does me. But like I have a pretty personally and in my own friend group, like I keep a small circle. I know a lot of people, but the people that I will actually spend like in-person time with and quality time with, it's a tight circle. And that's kind of
Same.
been like my life, like my whole life. I used to, I think, earlier in my life want to be friends with like everybody too much and want everybody to like me, but now it's like, oh, I want like my handful of very close friends. And then I know a lot of people, but the people who really get to be in my life, it's very, very small. And so not having much room for disrespect, because why? There's not enough time and energy for that.
Exactly. It took me 42 years to learn that, but I'm glad I'm finally there.
Yeah, good.
And one thing I always wanted to know, why is it so different for men and women? Men, they just fight, they throw fists, and then it's like, okay, let's go get a beer, a dinner. And then women, it's like, oh, remember that time 20 years ago when you said that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. We're so different, men and women, and like in amazing ways, I think, right? But
Yes.
and not, I think women are a lot more complicated than men, right? And women, we are designed and wired to be much more communal and connection oriented. So we want to keep like the group dynamics intact and like not rock the boat. Whereas men are going to be much more inclined to like, let's handle it and deal with it. If it gets messy and ugly, like we're like handling it right out there. Where like women tend to want to keep the peace, right? And this
Yes.
this goes back like a lot with just our like biological wiring, right? Like we want to keep the tribe intact because if we're having babies and stuff, and this is like the very like primitive stuff, if we're having babies, we need a support system. And so we want to keep people in our tribe to be able to help and like, all of that, right? So it's like a little bit survivally, if you will. And and so that's part of it, right? Not wanting to rock the boat too much and not wanting to like be alone because we want our support system. But I think another thing too is women, we are scanning for safety in so many different layers, right? Men are so singularly focused, but we're like, well, this vibe was off. Someone said that, someone da 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 da, right? And so we're like almost measuring things and like strategizing on so many different levels, like all at once. And again, it's that same sort of like different wiring. And so I think in part it's all of those things, right? It's like we're kind of like wait and see, but I don't want to disturb like things too much. Like all of that to like in an attempt to keep the peace. But that can lead to just like resentment and frustration and then things falling apart or growing distant for like, oh, we just kind of felt, lost touch sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it goes down to kind of our like basic like biological wiring of like wanting to keep the tribe and the community intact. And so we're less inclined to be as outwardly like strongly confrontational.
True, that's true. Yeah, but I've noticed this a lot. I mean, I've had other jobs other than the journalism, and always when the guys would fight, I'll be like, "Oh, the next day, oh, yeah, we're not fighting anymore. We're getting
Yeah,
lunch together. Want to come?" And the girls would be like, "Oh, I'm so mad at her. Do you know what she said about me?" And it would go on for weeks. I'm like, "Oh God, let it go, girl. It's not that serious."
right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Thankfully, I don't have friendships like that. We deal with stuff pretty like we
Yeah.
have the tough conversations and very honest conversations and yeah.
Yeah, same. But it's funny watching it sometimes through other people, watching it through the lens where you're there and you're like, okay, you guys need to let it go. Work, hash out your stuff, and as Elsa
Yeah.
says, let it go.
Yes. And like sometimes I'm even like, what? I mean, have you talked to them about this? No. I'm like, okay, well, do that first. I'm
Yes.
like, okay, why? Talk, okay, bring it up. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you like 10 out of 10, if you, like you said, if you talk to them and you're like, oh, they look at it, it's like, oh, I didn't realize you were feeling this way, and you work it out, and it's all good and hunky dory, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
No wonder why Housewives is making so much money.
Oh my gosh, right? Oh my gosh. And then too,
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, are people just, well, one, I think a lot when certain things happen, like it's people's unhealed parts coming out and kind of taking over, right? So if people haven't done the work, like the inner work and all of that, and they aren't still doing the growth work, that kind of stuff is going to come out more regularly and, more often. So that's a big part of it. But then sometimes I also just think, I'm like, do you not have enough going on in your life? Like, are you bored? Like, what? Like, so you need this like adrenaline rush or the excitement or the dopamine of conflict? Yeah.
craziness. So, try to switch gears a little bit. One thing I love asking people at interviews, tell me a fun fact about yourself.
Oh, a fun fact about myself. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to tell you a fun fact that because it's literally happening tomorrow on Friday. So I don't know exactly when this will go live, but it's Thursday today. So I love animals so much. So every weekend I go ride horses. I grew up riding horses and just like having, like having a bunch of animals like chickens, like a goat, like dogs, cats, like all of that. And so I also love to foster dogs. And how I got my dog in 2020 was through fostering. So I fostered her and then adopted her. And since then, I have fostered several dogs with the same rescue until they get adopted and everything. And it just makes me so happy. And tomorrow, I'm a little crazy for this, I'm picking up 3 puppies to foster for a couple weeks until they get adopted. So fun fact, I love animals and I love to foster animals, and I will have 2 or 3 little baby dogs plus my big dog in my house starting tomorrow.
What kind of dogs?
So mine is it's a pit bull rescue, so Angel City pit bulls, and so my dog is a Staffordshire boxer mix, she's like all white staffy, and these puppies are, I think they might be American bulldogs. If not, they're like pit bull puppies. So basically like pit bull puppies.
So cute. I'm a
I know.
foster fowl, so we tried
Yep.
it once, and no, we can't do
Yeah,
it.
she was my first foster. My dog was my first foster, and then all the others, I'm like, you don't get it. The house is not big enough, and I'm just one person, so you will only be here temporarily, but we'll love you a lot until then.
Yeah, because I share a house with my mom, and we went to this thing that had an emergency foster because all these animals were being mistreated. So we went,
Oh,
they gave it to us, and then they're like, "We have an adoption event." No, you don't. No, you don't. Mine.
I know, I know. I was talking to my boyfriend. He has two kids, and they like bug him about getting a dog. They don't have a pet. They bug him about getting a dog. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna bring the puppies over so they can play with them. He's like, you know that like they're gonna be bugging me about adopting. I'm like, okay, well we'll have to like set some ground rules that these are just for they can play with them as much as they want until while they're here, but they already have homes that they're going to, so they don't get any ideas.
Go. There you go. I like it. So you only have the one dog right now, or do you have other animals
Yes,
too?
I have the one dog. I would love to one yeah, the one dog, and then I ride horses at a horse rescue every weekend. I ride, go up and ride and stuff. But yeah, had a lot of animals growing up, but one dog is plenty for right now.
Nice. What's your doggy's name?
Her name is Lydia, which is so funny because when I started fostering her, she was like one, or they think, right? Like, she was found on the streets of LA. And that's the name that the rescue gave her. They usually give them like kind of random names. If it's a litter, they kind of have a theme. Like
Yeah.
I fostered a puppy last year, a Cane Corso puppy, and all the puppies from that litter were like Italian themed like candies and stuff. And so his name was like Baccio, and stuff. And so her name was Lydia. And when I got her, I was like, that's such a weird name to give a puppy. Like what? That's such a grown-up woman name, you know?
Yeah.
And then I fostered her for 6 months before I decided to adopt her because I wasn't planning on adopting or getting a dog. And by that point, like she knew the name. I was used to the name and I like thought through other names that might work. And I was like, nothing else feels right. So I guess your name is forever going to be Lydia.
That is
I
adorable.
know.
Yes. Yeah. We have lots of animals here too. We
Yeah.
have four cats, three dogs, all with pop culture names because I'm a journalist. So it kind of started off
Yes.
that way, and then we're just like, we might as well just keep the theme of pop culture names.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so Linus is our little foster fowl.
Cute.
Yeah, he's a Norwegian elk hound. I'm surprised you don't hear him barking because he loves running
No.
around and
The thing, what I will say is the thing with Zoom, the noise cancellation is so good with it because sometimes Lydia will be, I have a little trampoline right here in case I need to, like bounce around to shift my energy or whatever, and my windows, and she'll often just stand there or sit there and stare out the window, to protect the house. And sometimes will bark, right? If the mailman's coming or like somebody, whatever, right? And she'll loud, the girl is not quiet, and she'll start barking so loud that I get like noticeably, like shockingly surprised. And no one here. I'm like, so sorry, my dog was barking. And they're like, I didn't hear anything. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm like, it gave me chills because it scared me so bad. Like,
so since we're a TV site too, what are you watching these days?
what am I watching? Oh my gosh. I am watching the newest season of is it Tell Me Lies or Lie to Me? Always say it wrong. Tell Me Lies, right? Yes.
Yeah, because it's
I'm
two
watch
different shows, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not Lie to Me was the lie detector like FBI guy, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So Tell Me Lies I'm watching, which like like that's a whole nother. If anyone has been, I mean, talk about toxic relationships. If you've been in a relationship with like a narcissist, it will definitely be, yes, same. It will be very viscerally triggering, but it's like they do such a good job of portraying that kind of dynamic. So I'm watching that one. I I did start watching because I renewed my Hulu subscription just to watch the new Tell Me Lies season. And so I started watching The Beauty a little bit too.
Yes.
Um, Interesting, kind of pretty creepy. And then it's also on Hulu, and this is embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway. All's Fair, the Kim Kardashian one.
Okay,
It's
how
so
is that?
bad.
That's on my list and I want to check it
It's
out because
awful. And yet I'm still watching it. It's awful. So, but here's the thing. Visually, it is stunning. Like production quality, the wardrobes, like aesthetically, it looks so nice to watch. But it's I think that they're all having a lot of fun doing it, which like gives me a little bit of appreciation. I'm like, I'm so curious like how this show came to be because I bet they're like, oh, and what I am convinced that Kim was like, you know what, if I haven't made it to be a real lawyer yet, I'm going to make a TV show about being a lawyer so I can at least play one, right? I'm going to get all my lawyer fantasy out in this show until I become a real lawyer, right? Like that's what I feel like is happening. And I'm sure it is some massive, massive write off in some way, but I think it's just like a for fun project. It looks great. It's so soap opera-y and the writing is terrible. Like Sarah Paulson, great actress. Like she's so fun. But
Love her.
she's just out of control, like over the top. But I feel like again, I feel like she's having so much fun playing this role. Kim
Oh, Kim.
she
Oh,
can't act. She
Kim.
cannot act. She's so bad. So, but I often feel like with the show that like there's like a few different shows going on. I'm like, did they shoot this scene together in the same room? Because I feel like one is acting over here and one's acting like, are they in did this happen at the same time? Because there's no chemistry and they're at very different like levels of intensity. Like, so it's not good, but it's a guilty pleasure watch. I just had to, I'm embarrassed, but it's the truth.
Embarrassed. We all have our guilty pleasure shows. I've
Oh,
watched every Real Housewives and the Bachelor franchise, and that's my guilty pleasure right there.
yeah. Yeah. My other guilty pleasure. It's the one reality show that I watch is Love is Blind. And I feel like I
Oh,
heard there was a new
yeah.
season coming.
Yeah, I think it's coming out in the next couple of weeks or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something else. I'm like, why? But why am I watching this? But, COVID got me into all that stuff because I was working from
Right?
home at the time and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I need something before I go crazy. And I got like
Yes.
Vanderpump Rules, all the Housewives, Love is all those shows. Like,
Yep. Yep. What are you? Well, and I started watching Love is Blind because one of my girlfriends was on season one. And so I'm like, I have to
oh, okay.
support her. I have to support her
Yeah.
and watch. And then after that, I was like, now I just have to keep watching.
Yeah, I got to see what happens next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness, craziness. And where can I find you on social media so I can continue to follow this amazing career of yours, get more advice on this kind of stuff?
Absolutely. I am most active on Instagram and TikTok at Lauren Salaun. So just my first and last name. And that's my
All
website as
right.
well, laurensalon.com.
Wonderful. Well, it was a pleasure speaking to you. You're absolutely
Likewise.
amazing, and I can't wait to do this
Likewise.
again soon.
Thank you. Same. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Yep. Enjoy your weekend.
You too. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.